penalties. Have you always, Parcells said he didn't coach them. Other people say you are either allowing it to happen. You're either coaching it or allowing it to happen. Do you view penalties as on players or coaches?
Both. You're going to have penalties. I try to follow those pretty closely. No one commits to a game. The best teams don't do that, but you don't have to commit 9 a game. You don't commit 14 like that. And those penalties yesterday, I didn't like I think it was the first one that they called Gregory offside, and I thought Trent Williams moved first. After that, I thought that they earned their penalties. And you cannot have that. And you can't be surprised that they had 14 penalties because they led the league in penalties. And I don't know that I heard throughout the year and I don't know what's going on in the coaching meetings, and he frankly wasn't really ever pressed about it in press conferences, but I don't know what the head coach's feelings are about what you do about penalties. I do know that this game, I only thought the Raiders game was one where they really got the short end of the stick from the officials. This was not that. This was them being who they were all year. And frankly, they only gave up a couple of big plays. They gave up way too many what they call splash plays, 10 yards plus. But they gave up. I'm coming back to the penalties, Sean. I promise. They gave up way too many big plays in the passing game, and they gave up way too many long runs throughout the year. Well, so yesterday they kind of were who they were, except that they did not get anything done offensively. But the penalties, to me, are a problem. You cannot actually, the offense is functioning until you get a penalty and it brings it back. And that's who they were all year. And I think that is a bigger part of what went wrong with their season than I've heard them say it was.
Brad, the offensive line, do you think we're in a position where it's time for, I don't want to say a complete rebuild of the line, but, maybe it's, remember like 2010-ish where that Colombo, Kosher, Davis line started to get a little bit old. Do you see the same thing with this one where the line is either not very good or needs a kind of a rebuild?
Maybe. I think except for the age part, I think the comparison with a pretty good line that just was not really that great anymore, it might not be a bad one. And I think that's one of the – I know they've been doing it all year, but I think that's one of the biggest things they have to do. Connor Williams is a free agent. He's better than a lot of people who are going to be in free agency or that other people have, and so he's probably going to get a lot of money. And my guess is they won't re-sign him because they have so many other priorities. So now you've got to look at all of the other pieces, and, when he's healthy, Tyron Smith's still pretty good. I didn't think he had a very good game yesterday, but he's still one of the better tackles in the league. Zach Martin is as good as there is. I think you have to look at the other pieces and see where they best fit and how good they are and see what you can do about upgrading individually or finding a way to make the unit better. If you look at San Francisco and what they do and the way their offense functions, Trent Williams was a first-round pick, but not of theirs. They got lucky and got him away from Washington. And Alex Mack was a first-round pick, but not of theirs. They signed him because Shanahan knew him. He's well into his career. And the rest of those guys are their guys who they have found a way to make the unit work better. So yeah, I think they definitely have to be better in that area.
Brad Sham, voice of the Cowboys, here on The Fan after the loss yesterday ends the season against San Francisco. Did the second half of the year change your mind about the level of player that Dak is?
No, but I do think that I think we have to find out exactly what happened. I think maybe his calf bothered him longer than he or they said, and then it was not an issue anymore. And then I just think that the passing game is an intricate machine. So the protection's got to be right, and the receivers have to be right. And don't know if I don't think that the whole thing lived up to what it appeared that their abilities were. Now, he's part of that, and he certainly didn't play as well in the second half of the year. But if I'm understanding the question right, you're saying, can you go forward and win everything with him? And yeah, I still think you can.
What is number one on your fix-it list in the offseason?
Wow. The thing is, you have to see who you're going to lose. The first thing that has to happen is the coaching staff. Who are the coordinators going to be, and what do you need to implement what they want to do? Then when you know that, I mean, if you look at that list, I'm sure you have, that list of players who are out of contract, you know what your salary cap is. You've got to figure out how you're going to use the money you have. I mean, we're talking about, and forget about Connor Williams. I'm going to presume that they are not going to sign him, and not because I have any inside information, and I don't think you're going to be able to afford Dalton Schultz. So now Gallup is in a different category because of his knee. Maybe he signs a one-year deal. But you've got Gregory, Curse, Armstrong. You got Wilson in addition to Gallup, and you've got a number of the guys who were really important in the defense who are on one-year deals. So the number one thing is to figure out what you can afford and what you're going to expect to lose, and then you can tell what positions you have to go after. But right now, there's just so many players who are out of contract that it's really impossible to evaluate even what your team looks like.
What are your thoughts on the Sun?
Well, you know, I'm glad it comes up every morning, but I mean, I cannot disagree with people who say there should be a drape that they can put down. I understand the way the organization values the aesthetics of the place, and
they value completions.
Sorry?
Do they value completions?
That's a silly question. Of course, they value completion, but there's got to be a way that just shouldn't happen. So there's got to be a way to put a good-looking drape or slide or something that they can do something about, because that's not the first time that's happened. And it won't be the last time it happens, because when you say, what do you think about the Sun? It's going to be there every day at about the same time. And that's not going to change. I think Jason Garrett said that once.
Yeah.
And, I think they need to do something about that.
Why did the Cowboys lean on an injured Zeke yesterday instead of Pollard? So,
God, dog it. I almost cussed.
Patrick Walker on Twitter pointed it out yesterday that Zeke says he partially tore his PCL during the 2021 season. There it is, period. The truth. #Cowboys. Now, from a logistics standpoint going forward, because they're not getting rid of Zeke, I hate to break that to anybody who thinks that's what's going to happen next. Not going to happen.
I had that prediction around this time last year.
But then they
that
guaranteed
2021 would be his last year. But then they were like, you know what? Let's guarantee all of 2022 on Zeke's contract.
Yes. And so just in case that is what you're hoping for, the dead money for Zeke is $31 million if you're trying to get off of that. So that's not going to happen.
At this time last year, they decided to make a major mistake.
Then inside the tweet, I think speaks to what a lot of people have felt all season. When Patrick Walker tweeted out about the PCL injury, then he said, there it is, the truth, which I might be reading too much into this, but we have heard all kinds of, not confirmations, but rumblings and thoughts that the reason for the knee brace is because Zeke was clearly injured. Everybody from the front office and the coach is like, no, he's not injured. Everybody's banged up and stuff like that. It feels like a partially torn PCL is an injury as opposed to everybody is banged up.
Yeah, it just they decided that the name, the person, and I get the sacrifice, right? The sacrifice that the Cowboys made financially, the sacrifice that Zeke has made with his body, that they're like, we would rather lose with Zeke than possibly see what we could do with Pollard. It stinks. Like, I'm not happy about it. I don't think as a Cowboy fan you should be happy about it, but they look at it as we've committed a lot of money to Zeke. We've committed a lot of time, and Zeke has committed to us his body, and we've worn it down. He's probably never going to be a good running back the rest of his career. Yeah, he can rush for 1,000 yards, but, big deal. 17 games, to
60
me.
60 yards a game.
Big deal. 60 yards a game, but he's from their standpoint, like, he's a good teammate. He's a leader. He does everything that we want him to do. So if we go down with him, he's a good guy in our book. We're going down with him. We're not going to switch. We're not going to go to what looks like the better player at the end of 2021 season and into the playoffs because we respect Zeke and we gave him a lot of money.
I hate that thought. I like Mickey's thought better because, look, we've gone round and round about a couple of things. I hear what he's saying about the offensive line, but I thought the most interesting point Mickey made to me was, well, they felt like they had to keep Zeke in there because of pass protection. And I already talked about it. One of my 2 or 3 favorite plays, I think it was probably the Anthony Brown interception, that latent tackle that kept the season alive. But maybe my favorite play of the day was when Zeke bowling balled his body into 2 rushers at the same time and threw them both off enough for Dak to have more time. I thought that was an incredible play. And that was my concern is Mickey was like, they felt like they had to keep Zeke in there for pass protection. And I get that on certain plays, but as an offensive philosophy, that is troubling. If you're like, well, we have to have this running back in there to pass protect, like as a general rule. Right. I get in specific situations. As a general rule, that's not good.
Well, when your quarterback isn't playing well the whole second half of the season, and now you say our offensive line is so bad that we have to block with 6 all of the time, which they didn't. But let's just say their philosophy is we have to have Zeke in the game because we have to have 6 guys blocking at all times. Well, if 6 guys are blocking and 1 guy has the ball, the quarterback, that means maximum I can send 4 guys out against 7 defenders. Maximum. And sometimes they keep the tight end in for just a second or 2 to make sure that they get a little bit of a hit on them. And so now I only have 3 guys really running routes against 7 defenders.
Now,
our guy is not like a bullet thrower, accurate guy. So I would rather have Tony Pollard in there, my opinion, not so much to run the ball all the time. Hey, you know how I can also be a good blocker? Go slip out to the sideline.
Yes.
Because now I just dump it to him and go, you go run fast and make somebody miss. He can do that. Zeke can do neither, and he's never going to do it the rest of his career. His career is pretty much over. He's not going to ever run fast again, and he's not going to make people miss.
You mean over in terms of any of these dreams of eliteness that some people seem to have?
That one move that he made where he stopped, cut it back for 10 yards, I believe it was a first down. Hell, nobody even tackled him. He was just like, I'm done, so I'm just going to dive for the extra yard here, which is fine. That's who he is. He can... I shouldn't say his career's over as in like he's going to be released from the NFL and nobody's going to want him after 2022. He's going to probably be in the NFL through 2024. But his days of being good are over. He's been worn out. He got worn out at Ohio State. He got worn out early in his career. And we are at 26 years old. He's now a backup running back that we're paying a S-load of money for.
And I know some people will make the argument. That's why he held out at the time he did, that he knew things were going to come to a close sooner rather than later. Unfortunately, and I hate this, I don't think it's changing next year. Like,
nope. He's going to make a whole bunch of money. Look, now I get what he's done off the field or not done off the field. We don't know. But he's a good teammate. He's a leader. He tries to help the backup players. We saw that in Hard Knocks. Dak and him are best buddies. They're rolling with Zeke. even if it hurts the team, they're rolling with Zeke because financially they're super committed and they like the person.
Yeah. And
the only way that it would change, remember how much Emmett hated the guy from the Pittsburgh Steelers, our coach for 2 years. Chan Gailey. Emmett hated Chan Gailey. Why? Chan Gailey had nothing committed to Emmitt Smith, and then he came in and said, hey, I want to kind of have you share the running back position to kind of work your workload to go down, this and that, right? Because now Emmett wasn't running things because this guy's like, I don't have a relationship with you. I don't care what you've done or not done. I'm not saying Chan Gailey was a good coach, but that would be the only ways it changes is if somebody came in like, I have nothing committed to Zeke, and I'm going to tell the Jones family I'm going with my guy.
And from the 940, Pollard was no better yesterday. Well, first of all, I think that's discernibly false. Zeke had 12 carries for 31 yards. Pollard touched the ball 6 times for 26 yards. So I think, like, just statistically,
didn't the only drive we had that we actually had a drive, Pollard was the running back for that drive?
And I guess my issue,
a 28-yard drive doesn't count. Going 28
because
yards,
of the turnover.
it was a touchdown.
Yeah,
it was great, but that ain't a drive.
I think my issue with this is it's the Jalen Brunson concept. All right, is how the hell do we know, right? Like. And we've argued with Mickey about this among other people in the past, is Mickey might be 100% right. Other people might be 100% right. You put Tony Pollard in the lead back role on a consistent basis, it could turn out that it doesn't work out for you. He can't get those tough runs after you've used them for the 16th, 18th carry. He can't get those tough runs in his third back-to-back-to-back game. But how the hell do you know? Instead, we're like, well, he makes the money, so playing time is going to dictate that's what we do. And that makes no sense to me. Also, you know what else makes no sense to me?
Why can't you use him like Alvin Kamara? They don't run him 16 times. They just make sure he's on the field a lot and gets the ball in situations where his little body doesn't get hit by all the defensive tackles.
And the logic is going to be, and I understand in the past, is people are going to say, it's the same thing they say with Zuerlein. Well, he's made a lot of big kicks for us over the years. Well, Zeke's made a lot of big runs for us over the year. Absolutely. And for those reasons, salute to him for that. But past success in the NFL seems to be different than the rest of society. You know, the rest of society, they'll be like, well, what's the best predictor of future behavior? Past behavior. I probably butchered that statement, but you get the idea. The NFL does not necessarily work like that, especially when it comes to running backs.
Yeah. It is what it is. It's not going to change in 2022. Zeke, he's not a healthy guy, but he goes out there and he plays. And I think a lot of respect to that. The coaches really love that. And so he's going to be the guy that gets 70% of the snaps in 2022. And Pollard's going to get 30%. Then Pollard's going to be a free agent and Pollard's going to sign elsewhere. We only have one more year of Pollard and then he's gone.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. Some of the I don't know. I want to say lower level just in terms of like name recognition or pay recognition. You might see some of those people be on the move because you just mentioned Tony Pollard. You've got one more year. Well, I mean, Gallup, Wilson, and let's not lose sight of this, Schultz are all free agents now. So some of the people that the Cowboys have leaned on at times might be headed out the door.
And boys, I guess all I can say is that was pathetic. It really was. The defense played really well in the second half. I guess if I wanted to lead with something positive, that's where I would go. I think a lot of the other aspects of the game let them down in one way or another. And as Dak said last night, right now, it's hard to accept, hard to process.
Yeah, they did all their bad things. All the bad things that had led to struggles and inconsistencies throughout the year, they went ahead and brought them to the forefront in this one.
Yeah.
Set a record for penalties, sabotage yourself left and right. They did everything that you did not want to do, especially playing the 49ers. By the time you got through with 2 drives apiece, the 49ers were like, hey, this is exactly the kind of game we wanted to play. And the Cowboys were like, not us.
Crap!
Yeah. Oh, man, that wasn't our plan.
I mean, even Tyron Smith stunk.
Yep.
What the hell was going on there? So now it's time to pick up the pieces and talk about maybe the biggest missed opportunity since 1994 around here, and talk about where we go from here. I think First off, we got to take a look at just everything that went wrong, Brian. What was number one to you as far as why that was such a train wreck yesterday?
Yeah, your quarterback, who is better than their quarterback, didn't play particularly well yesterday, and you didn't protect him well enough. You've proven you can't run the football, so then it turns into him having to make throws. They didn't do a very good job, I think, overall of finding ways to get these receivers the ball enough that you look at the yards per attempt for Dak, it was below 6 yards an attempt. I think it was right around 5.9. That just tells me that you didn't attack this secondary as well as you need to. But then again, you couldn't block up front. You know, their quarterback is, you know, they're gonna do the best they can to keep him from having to really play in this game. Yeah, man, there was a time there Ayuk was wide open. I mean, he spun Diggs, and Diggs falls, and it's open. He misses, and I'm like, there's your break right there. That's your break. That's why your quarterback is better. But your quarterback didn't play particularly well yesterday. Again, the line didn't play well. I thought the defense did a great job with the adjustments, though.
Yeah.
Early in that campaign, it was touchdown, field goal. And then I'm thinking, okay, they're kind of making them kick field goals. You know, Shanahan not being really aggressive here, 4th and 1. He's like to decide to kick field goals and stuff. So I'm thinking, okay, this is cool. You know, they're going to play that way. You're going to find a way to kind of rally. But initially, when you watch this game, the very first series of the game, you kind of got to feel that, okay, there's going to be some problems. You're not going to run. You can't protect. And that was what, you know, again, this game came down to. They gave you a chance. San Francisco tried to give you the game with 2:51, 3 timeouts, and you couldn't get it done.
Yeah, that was painful.
Yeah.
The O-line getting crushed all game long. We talked a lot last week about how this team needs to find ways to pass the ball down the field to get that yards per attempt up and make them pay, and they never could. Was there anything else they could have done, or did they just essentially have you in checkmate when the O-line was getting beat that bad?
I mean, you could try to go double Hulk package the whole game and have a couple of offensive line fullbacks and see if you can get 2-man routes or 3-man routes to maybe get open. But
they tried. They got in that one time where they went Hulk package with both McGovern and Steele in. And
Steele was open, by the way.
Yeah.
He was open in the middle of the field. He presented his numbers. He had his hands up. He wanted the rock.
He's got a track record, too.
He wanted the rock. McGovern was open, too, but he didn't have his hands up.
Yeah, they're in a situation, but they tried to say, okay, we're going to run max protection here and try and take a deep shot. And then Wilson wasn't even open. Wilson basically defending on the play. I mean, I just kind of feel like, though, that there was a lot of empty possessions yesterday in that football game. Too many times where you had opportunities to move. I think really right before the half, 3 minutes to go, you don't get any points there. You're one of the better teams in the league when it comes to scoring at half. You don't get points there. You're coming back in the second half with the ball. Could have double dipped them right there, and you didn't even get anything out of those 2 drives. Points wise, I think those are the types of things that hurt you as well.
And what happened coming out of half? False start, followed by a false start. Back-to-back plays, 3 different players. The first one was Tyron and Connor. The second one was Lyle Collins, and your 3rd and 4 became 3rd and 14. That was the Cowboys special this year.
That was horrible. Yeah, and, with Romo talking about both sides of the line of scrimmage just not being able to focus and be composed when the snap count is going on was a major factor in the game as well. I think the Niners' ability to rush and get home with 4 and dropping guys into coverage was epic.
Yeah.
And it led to Dak hanging onto the ball and looking extra long, which exacerbated your offensive line issues and made it even bad when the line did manage to hold for a little bit, which wasn't often.
Well, and two, you had some situations where the play to Wilson, into the sun. I mean, that's a throw.
How are we still not accounting for that in our play calling? Kellen Moore's been here for 8 years.
I don't know. It's funny that
how do we not have a curtain?
How do we
not have a curtain?
When you go in that direction, that there's going to be the potential for problems. And again, when you take that opportunity, but I've stood in that end zone before and looked back. You honestly can't see. I understand when you watch the tape of Wilson, he ducks.
Yeah.
Like, you're lucky the ball didn't hit him in the head and go up for a turnover. To be honest with you, that the fact that he knew better to get down and try not to let the ball come clanging off him.
They showed that on TV in the replay and the view, and it's like he had no shot.
Yeah, you can't. I know the camera makes it seem a lot worse, but it's that bad, folks. It really is. If you have seats down there,
I was sitting looking at it during the game.
You know what it is. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, when the sun starts going down that way and coming through the windows, it's great.
That's when the season ticket holders pull out their Ray-Bans.
I guess.
Or their blue blockers.
I can't believe Eve. And look, I know this is stupid and minor or whatever, but I'm still stunned they have a stadium that goes east to west. I'm stunned by it.
I think you felt like
I'm stunned no architect, when they were like,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to put the stadium there, was like, all right, well, obviously we'll orient it north-south. No, I want the sun to come right in.
It'll be
the afternoon
beautiful.
game.
It'll light things
It'll
up.
look good on TV. Like, I have no idea what that's
the
about.
practice field at the Star sits the same way.
What are they doing?
Well, no, I believe they thought they were going to have buildings built around the stadium and stuff that would block the sun, maybe.
So dumb.
So,
Hang
yeah.
a curtain up, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference between being able to attempt a field goal at the end of the half and not.
Yeah.
You catch that ball, you can line up for a 54-yarder, I think.
Sure.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Be nice. But nah, we're gonna have the sun screw up our game.
All right, speaking of autopsies, my body is dead. Obviously, I was wrong. Jeff was right. They were not holding anything back. That was literally the best game plan they could come up with.
They got
The one that failed for 2.5 months. They decided, nope, let's keep doing this in the playoffs. Let's run it up the middle a lot more, I think, by a ratio of 4-1 than we run it to the outside, even when we go outside and it leads to a touchdown drive and we're actually getting first downs.
It's the best series they had. He started with 6 straight runs, and they were all pretty much edge runs.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
that first touchdown drive also was about 80% Pollard. Just if anyone's interested. If anyone's interested, Pollard was the one that was in the game.
I love what you guys say about Pollard, and I honestly think this is why they played Zeke. The blocking, and because the offensive line was bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were worried that if they put Pollard in there and the line kept leaking the way it was, that they were going to have even more problems.
Okay, so here's what this comes down to me, and I love that you brought that point up, because Kellen Moore was a celebrated high school and college quarterback that studied all these playbooks. He wasn't studying them to learn how to hand it off different ways. This guy is obsessed with the passing game. I don't think he's good for the running game. And I think Linehan and Garrett were right that if we're going to win with Dak, we have to run more efficiently. And I don't think that's even in Kellen Moore's DNA at this point in his development. When they were running a lot under Garrett and Linehan, I said, you're capping your ceiling like this. You got to try to pass more. And if you try to pass more and it doesn't work, then maybe you need a new quarterback. And so my thought right now, and the Pollard thing is what triggered that to me. Yeah. He wants to pass it so much that he is willing to give up so much in the running game, going from Zeke to Pollard, just so you can have that pass pro in there. When I think their best chance to win would have been with balance, like they had in the 7-game winning streak, but for whatever reason they just gave up.
Yeah. What happens? What you give up is when you watch Schultz, like for the 4th straight game, end up right by the pile for -2. When his guys,
2nd and 11.
Yeah, when his guys right on, he gets beat.
But those were inside runs. They were stuffed on the inside.
No, you're absolutely right. No, the inability, this offensive line just couldn't do anything running the football. It did early in the year, the pin and pull stuff. I felt like the runs that were able to toss sweeps and things like that. But yeah, to your guys' point, playing Pollard is the absolute right thing.
Yeah.
The problem is when your offensive line is so leaky, you have to have a guy that can maybe clean up the mess if there is one.
I get it. I get it.
I know,
and maybe you make that a
you're
priority.
Not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Sure.
You guys are not wrong.
I would just run it a lot more then. We passed the ball 40 times and had 17 points. I just and it was predictable. If I would have known they were going to go with that game plan, I would have picked something like the final result, 49ers win a relatively low scoring game. To me, that's fireable. Not recognizing you should have Pollard in the game instead of Zeke is one reason I would definitely move on from Kellen Moore right here. I will love it if another team comes in and offers them the head coaching job. I don't know if the Cowboys are gonna do anything with the coaching staff. I think Joe Philbin's an easy fire on the offensive line.
Yeah,
I know, and I think that's doable. But even then, I'm not sure how this team's going to look at it.
That's another buddy. That's another buddy of Mike McCarthy, that he was with and he feels comfortable with and all that stuff. So, yeah, I think you have to do a hard look, a hard study at really the offensive coaches. But you're going to have different defensive coaches too. Let's all be honest here. Dan Quinn's not going to be here. He's just not. They're going to have to figure out what they want to do with Joe Witt, maybe make him, George Edwards. Somebody's going to have to be the defensive coordinator stepping in here, I believe.
To me, it's really interesting too. compare and contrast watching those two teams play offense, because it almost goes back to like Nick Saban in Alabama, where once upon a time they were so good that it was like, look, we can just be boring and kick everybody's butt. But then it was like, oh, wait, there's a better way to do this that teams who aren't as good as us could beat us with. We should do it.
Yeah.
And like the 49ers are one of the best teams in the league at getting the most out of their quarterback through making you think about a lot of things. And maybe this goes to what you're saying about how Kellen doesn't have a base offense.
He does.
He's got a bunch of plays.
He doesn't.
And it's like they don't, when you compare those two, Cowboys motion at the snap, I bet it was 0.
Yeah.
And I know it's harder to do when you're running tempo and you're getting up on the ball and you're going and you're going and you're going. But man, I feel like Kellen Moore does not do a good job, definitely in this game, of giving you a chance. Where was my easy play? Where was the one? Because like
everything was hard.
Jimmy had a lot of them.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, we're going to do the play action because you're terrified I'm going to give it to him or him, but you over there can't rush the passer because you're worried that guy who's coming left. By the way, my fullback might end up 20 yards downfield. There's so much to think about that as a quarterback, a lot of times you get to take first read, throw the ball, next play. And I feel like watching the Cowboys offense, it was like, can you get to your fourth read and then make a good throw with poor protection? It's like, man, that did not look like the play designs, the play calls were making life easy on anybody.
Nope.
I mean, the Niners had 2 runs where it was confusing who had the ball, and the guy with the ball was literally running past Cowboys defenders that were right next to him, and they were looking somewhere else. And the Cowboys get none of that.
It happened on the play where Randy got the second defensive holding call.
Yeah, he tackled the offensive lineman.
He tackles the lineman thinking that's the guy with the ball.
Yeah, it was a bad idea. Oh. Yeah, that's another one. I mean, they sabotaged the hell out of themselves, offense and defense. Jumping offside for on a 3rd down and 5 for Randy.
Well,
the penalty he had for defensive holding was, I believe, a 3rd down. Like there was just so many individual plays where don't F this up. And it's like, sorry, here's your 3rd and long that you just got for another penalty. And here's when you finally make a big passing play down the middle to CD, whoop, there's a flag. Yeah. When Pollard has 2 good returns, whoop, there's the flag. Like you killed yourself.
Yeah, the thing about you killed yourself again on the delay penalty too. You have a brilliant call with the pass. By the way, Brian Anger has not done anything wrong all year long. He's the one guy.
He's a stud.
He's the perfect guy. But
franchise tag him.
He has the pass, and you get it complete, and then so they tell us after the game they had a package where they were going to run a second play. Well, all of a sudden, Bones Faust, I'm watching this. Bones is trying to hold the offensive guys back on the sidelines, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, send the offense back on.
With 18 seconds on the play clock.
So now the clock is ticking, and you're thinking, okay, is it a ball change? Is it one of those things where they take a kicking ball out? Is offense, what's the situation here? I'm watching the whole time, and it's like nobody had communicated to the offense that they had a second play called.
Yeah.
It was confusion on the sidelines, and then the determination was to send the offense back on the field.
And then the ref didn't let you snap it.
And then the ref didn't let you snap it because you sent the offense back on the field.
So you
just put the ball down and go, ref. Yeah. I don't need you saying, now defense, are you ready?
No.
The clock is running. We're on offense. We dictate the pace.
But that's self-inflicted right there.
By the Cowboys?
Yeah, by the Cowboys. But by keeping
once you run them on that
once
late.
You ran the offense on the field.
18 seconds is late?
Yes. Once you ran the offense on the field, that gave the 49ers the opportunity to substitute with you. That's the hold. You sabotaged yourself. Huh. But see, nobody...
He did give him more time than he needed to. He's like, are you guys all lined up properly? Yeah. And the safety's creeping down. Like, they're now doing
But that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at Bones Fossil on the sidelines because I'm going, what is he doing? They're running a second play. Bones is kind of holding the offensive guys back, and then somebody obviously on the sideline said, offense, and they tried to go out there. When that happens, the official runs in because you have to give him the opportunity. So that's one of those things where Dak Prescott in the offense or somebody on the coaching staff didn't know they were going to run a second play with the punt team.
Yeah. And the punt team was out there against their defense.
Yeah.
Like, what was your plan? What play did you have drawn up that their starting defense wasn't going to be ready for with Noah Brown at quarterback and the punter on the field? Like, what is that?
Yeah, I did think those were unlucky breaks at the end of the game and at the end of the first half that the official was in no way prepared to execute it efficiently. Because 18 seconds is enough for the Niners to say, "Oh, it's the regular offense. Go."
Yeah.
You don't need that long.
Yeah.
Things happen.
But that's the thing about it. There was hesitation on the Dallas sidelines. I was watching Bones holding people back. And then it's like
they were trying to get the Niners to call a timeout,
exactly,
weren't they? Yeah.
Exactly. But they also said they were going to run a play.
Yeah,
they had a play in mind that they were going to. It was a package. McCarthy said it post game last night. But I was watching the sidelines. I sit there, was watching what they were doing, and I'm like, okay, why are they keeping the punt team out there on the field? So yeah, once you ran offensive players onto the field, the officials have the right to hold you until the defense is ready.
Okay, I understand that because you don't want to play games with the clock and have the defense scrambling and all that. You got to.
But I do agree with you that ref could have easily moved 4 seconds earlier. Like he stood over the ball, he looked up, all their guys were on and lined up, and he's like, and then he points at Dak and he looks back. And I'm like, well, they've been lined up for 5 seconds. Well, you can move now.
That's Alex Kemp's responsibility. The head official,
he's not a Cowboys fan at all.
Alex Kemp is responsible to tell that official to move, like back out, go. That's that he watches because that's the way the umpire holds until the referee makes that call.